time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell radio show. What's on your mind Tuesdays? Call in, comment, and connect on WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go. Talking art, politics, culture, and business. Yeah, entertaining and educational. What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell radio show. What's on your mind Tuesdays? Call in, comment, and connect on WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go. Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell radio show. Let your voice be heard. Time to elevate. Call in or talk to me. What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell radio show. What's on your mind Tuesdays? Call in, comment, and connect on WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? You tuned in to Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell and Dr.
What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell radio show.
FM. Right here in the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, off of Kinsman Avenue, where everything goes down. Call it Garden Valley is where we at today. And the studio is nice and cool. It's not too cold in here today. I think we're going to have a good show today. Looking forward to everything. Before we get started, I'm going to do a shout out. Dr. Burton is coming in hot like she always do. She's stuck on the highway a little bit, so she will be here in a moment and we'll get things going. I'm going to let Unicorn, though, grab your mic, Uni. I want you to go ahead and give us an update about what's going on. I heard your commercial spot out there. It sounds like the radio station did very good in helping Garden Valley and putting that stuff together out there. So give the community a quick shout out about the success and what's going on with that, and any updates and anything else that you think is worthy, because you are on the radio more than anybody here at WOVU. So if there's anything the community needs to know real quick, there's an opportunity for you to get that shout out as we wait for Dr. Burton to make her presence into the studio, because we got a hot program today and she is the center of that. And as soon as she gets here, we're going to start. So Uni, we're going to start off with you. What's happening?
I just got to applaud the community real quick.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I got you. Because y'all showed up, showed out, overwhelmed the folks, didn't know what to do with all the things that was given to us for the families affected by the fire in Garden Valley. Look, it warmed my heart. I don't know how many times I cried joyful tears, and it's very rare for me to cry because I'm a lovable thug.
Sister Soldier.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Sister Soldier.
But it was so joyous to walk in a cornucopia and see just stuff pack to pack, like wall to wall of clothes, diapers, baby food, formula, all sorts of clothes and shoes and household goods. It's just such a beautiful thing to see community take care of each other. We didn't have to wait for any type of government fund to come in and save anybody. Like, we took care of each other. We took care of our own. And I just want to thank each and every person that came through with donations, that thought about it, that gave a monetary donation as well.
Right.
We are still accepting monetary donations as well via the website. All you have to do is Google Burton Bell Car, and the website comes right up. You can donate that way. And look, thank you, y'all, for real.
They did a great job. Like I said, when you walked out of here, I was looking and it was just stuff everywhere. Yeah. And you guys was a holding place too. Weren't you guys allowing people to keep stuff here and stuff like that as well?
Donations. We kept donations here. Then it moved over to the downtown location of the Word Church.
Okay.
And yes, everything's gone out. I think they pretty much are done.
Excellent.
And
you know, something else that came out of that, I heard Councilman Starr mention about the young man who tragically lost his life in this as well. I'm going back in there to save one of the people that was in there, and he's doing a resolution now and proclamations to get thing named after this young man. I think they're going to make it an award that every time someone does something great, it's going to be named after the young man. You know who I'm talking about?
I do know who you are referring to. I do not know the young man's name. Unfortunately, at this time, I will go and gather that information for sure. The last I talked to the young man's partner, he was entering into surgery. So I'm actually just learning that he passed away.
Yeah, that was just on the news. I think it was yesterday. I was watching the news when they said that he tragically passed away.
So I talked to his partner who explained to me that he did in fact run back into the burning house to gather both of their children. He was her fiance. Prayers up to him and everyone else that was hurt, their children that was hurt.
Look at article up for us so that we can get it, because we should say his name. And the whole thing, I know Richard Starr mentioned the fact that, he didn't want anyone to ever forget the man's name. And that was one of the things. It was an article. Richard Starr. You should be able to look up Councilman Richard Starr.
And shout out Richard Starr. His response time was impeccable for these families, getting them housed. I think everyone was pretty much rehoused within at least 2 weeks. The first week, it was at least 80% of the folks affected was in new housing, and the rest of them are now in new housing. So yeah, shout out to Richard Starr, making sure that his people in his ward are taken care of, housed, and fed and clothed. And what was his name?
Cordell Sheffield.
Cordell Sheffield.
Rest in peace, Cordell Sheffield.
What you got over there, Zeke?
Cordell Sheffield died on Thursday of severe burns he suffered during the June 23rd explosion at the Rainbow Terrace Apartments when he raced into danger to save one of his stepchildren. Cleveland City Councilman Richard Starr is now proposing a permanent memorial to be created in Ward 5 to salute his incredible courage.
Yeah. So I told you, I knew I had saw that on the news, and they talked about that. And I thought that was going to be really awesome for them to be able to name that award after that. And like I say, one of the things that the councilman kept saying throughout that process is that he did not want anyone to forget his name. So once again, his name is
Cordell Sheffield.
Cordell Sheffield. And a big shout out to Cordell, rest in peace, and out to his family and anyone else. If you want to do something to make sure that happen, please get behind Richard Starr and support him so that the city and others will take his lead on making that happen. I think that's very important. Anything else? Any good news, Uni?
I took my daughter to the circus. The circus was in town this past weekend.
The circus was in town.
Yes, and I didn't think circus was like a thing. It was the European water circus.
Oh,
have y'all went to that?
My wife was trying to get me to go there.
Why didn't you go?
Because exactly what you called the title of it was.
European?
No, not. Most circuses are European, so that wasn't it. But I didn't think it was what I wanted to see. That's all. I did the Ringling Brothers when the kids were young.
I'm waiting for the Soul Circus.
I was
to come
really
back,
disappointed in that. Soul Circus were okay. They were nice too. They were good too. I'm not gonna hate on none of it. All of it was good entertainment. If you can bring your family out and go to that, my kids did get an opportunity to experience that. And you know what? As you part of the Soul Circus, we'll give a big shout out to Louis Moore.
Woo.
Because Louis Moore was the man when it came down to the Soul Circus and things that was going on in Cleveland. He always had tickets. I mean, Louis get tickets and he would give them out to people and get everybody involved in that. And he still do. Big shout out.
He got the Grandparents Fest coming up soon at Luke Easter Park. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, that's an every year thing as well. So summer is good. So far, so good. Nothing really crazy other than this Garden Valley thing place, and that hurts a lot and a lot of displaced families. So we really, like I said, keep our eyes and everything on the families and make sure you guys are out supporting Councilman Richard Starr efforts in trying to fix that situation in any way that they can. So we'll put out. Zeke, what you got going on, brother? Anything out there that you believe we need to know before we have our little talk?
Anything? Nah. I guess I can make this announcement that today is my last day with Strategic Moves.
He's moving on.
Yep. Will officially be going into the Air Force.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. My dad was in the Air Force.
Salute,
Yeah.
salute. We need to drop a bomb. We got any bomb drops over there? We should drop a bomb.
There we go.
We should drop a bomb. This brother going to the military.
Do you want to be like one of the people on the line doing any of the horns
Absolutely
or the drumming?
not.
No.
I want to. Nah.
So tell them what you're going in there. What you considering doing? Going in
there. So I had a few options after I took the ASVAB, and one of my options was security forces.
MP.
And I was like, nah, I'm good.
Guard that door.
I'm good.
Make sure nobody walk through that door.
But then they had things like pharmacy. They had things like EOD, which
don't do that.
I wasn't doing that either.
Don't do that. Mm-hmm. Those, for people that don't know, mm-hmm. Those are the folks that go and check the bombs.
Oh,
yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, no. I don't see no future in that one.
I'm good.
I don't see no future in that.
But I did pick. I definitely picked pharmacy.
He gonna be a drug dealer.
Okay.
A U.S. drug dealer. He gonna be pharmacing.
So are we excited? Like, what is your feelings going into this? When do you leave for boot camp? Like, tell me all the things.
I will be leaving on the 22nd.
He up out of here.
I'm out of here.
Are you having to go on a away party? Are we partying it up?
I wasn't expecting. I was expecting to do anything like that. I mean,
you might as well. You should do something.
You're not gonna see a lot of your loved ones for a long time, baby.
Hey, listen, if you do it, we'll be there.
Yeah, I'll be there
for sure. For sure, yeah. I would. You definitely invite. Definitely.
Yeah, you gotta do something, man. You're going into the military.
Going, wow.
Yeah,
I know. For pharmacy, my I'll be gone for 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So let's get into that question here. The big question about it is why. I mean, because you're a young man, you have options. Black young man here in America. You got options.
Yeah.
Because you're working for an awesome guy like myself who knows everybody and can do anything and all things through Christ. But I can still do
Hallelujah.
it. But you had options. Why the military?
I thought it was the best thing for my family as far as thinking ahead, thinking of longevity, thinking of benefits that I could acquire. Also, going back into school, a lot of people don't know that I learned how to do all this stuff myself with social media. I learned how to, navigate this space of marketing, but I never really had the education behind it. So
it's overrated. Don't worry about it.
So I
Dr. Burton wouldn't want to hear that, but
yeah,
it's overrated. Your hands-on experience, you probably learned more in the 120 days of how to crash through social media and marketing than you probably going to learn in 4 years of somebody sitting at there pointing at a board telling you who has never done it. That's my opinion, people. So that's my only plug about education. But go ahead, Steve.
Well, yeah, that's very true. I definitely believe that. But also when it comes to marketing and when it comes to excelling and growing and, jobs and things like that, unfortunately, they care about that piece of paper.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. You can't go nowhere without it other than doing your own thing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about it. I think it was really, if that's where you want to go, I think that's a huge, huge step in making that decision, especially now. So I commend you tremendously for saying, hey, I want to look out for my family and move forward and doing what I got to do, because in most cases, most men have to do that. All the good men. And we were just talking about that before the show started. So I appreciate that. I told you myself, even going through life, there's been, I haven't been an entrepreneur. Yeah, I've been an entrepreneur most of my life. There's been times I had to do what I had to do to make sure I can take care of the family. Well, that's working for the city, working for the county, working at various different places to get there long enough. And trust me, I only got there long enough. As soon as I saw opening, I booked. I ran right back out the door. Got back out here hustling like I do. But if I have to, I will. And so I commend you big time for having the fortitude or the foresight to say, you know what, that now on that note, how about the job market? How much did the job market for a young 30-year-old brother out here looking for a job, how much did that play in you making that decision?
That was a huge,
Mm-hmm.
huge,
Mm-hmm.
realization that I had to come to.
Mm-hmm.
That the job market is terrible. I love the social media market. I love, taking a brand and pushing it further, or starting the brand and pushing it further. But the reality of the situation is, when it comes down to jobs like this, they care about two things.
Mm-hmm.
One is
Results.
The education behind it. Results. One is results.
Mm-hmm.
Two is education behind it. And I just knew that that's the one thing that I would need to really focus on in order to help me get ahead. But the job market in itself in that space is on a decline right now.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Anything corporate is on a decline right now. Because one, you have AI taking over,
right,
and really, it's just switching over to that power. But anybody that works in corporate would tell you that this is tough right now, and people are getting fired more and more, and it's hard for them to get jobs in that space.
But in the space that you were in, creating social media, it seemed like that would be a good space.
You would think so, but if you go on LinkedIn, if you talk to people in that space, it's actually really, really taking a hit right now. Yeah. Especially if you don't have education behind it.
I don't think it's the education that's the problem with that. I think it's the experience. I think that people don't have the experience to come into a place to do what they say they can do. And I think that that's what's making it hard. When you say that, because there's no real education on content creating, social media, marketing, you can go get that. But the reality is, I would take a guy like Zeke, who can come in and say, this is what I did and can show me, versus a guy who hasn't done it, but told me they sat up and listened to Dr. Burton's for 4 years. I hate to do it to you, doctor, but I would. Now, only reason is because I know that you've done it, and I can say, you can show me. The other person has the ability to do it, and they have the theory, and they ready to put it together, and you have to work with them. Similar to like when you came in. When you came in, me and you had to go through our figuring out what works, what doesn't work, how we make it work. And then it was like, you know what, I'm going to have to show you. I had to go through a thing, because when I first brought you on, I was like, hey, I want this guy to come on and he's going to take me from 0 to 100. All right. That's where I wanted to go, but then I realized, was like, I told my wife, I'm going to have to ride this ride with this guy, and we're going to have to learn this together. I'm going to have to show him some of the stuff he don't know. And some of the stuff, I'm going to have to pick up stuff from him that I don't know. Versus when I bought that first UN, I wanted to put it all on you. You got to show me everything you know that I don't know. And I want you to prove it to me. And so it's a difference. And I think that's the hard part. So I think, if you find somebody in the space, because, I've been looking for somebody, it's hard to find good people who in the space who can do the work.
Zeke, do you feel like with that lack of furthering your education in your early 20s that you have a certain level of insecurity in the workforce in general?
I think that's anybody though. But yeah, I would say that. But I'll also say it's just like when I learned how to use Photoshop, right? I didn't take in the basics first, and then I learned everything around it. But there's something missing still. And so that's how I view this space. I've learned all I could learn by myself. But I can get back down to the basics, and it will make me even better.
Because there are things that you may not realize that you skipped over not gaining that education. So I understand as a 35-year-old woman sitting here finishing her graphic design degree right now, I understand that, and that's what made me ask you that. It wasn't my insecurity that made me go back, but just the lack of, I missed a step.
Yeah.
I just missed a step, and me being real with myself and knowing that I missed a step and I don't know where, but I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's where
Right.
I'm
For
at
sure.
right
Yeah,
now.
For sure.
yeah.
Good, Doc.
And I think it also, with missing that step, with you saying that, missing that step, going back to school gives you that missing step, but it also gives you that level of, and I don't want to use the word confidence, but it gives you that level of certification that nobody can take from you. So it's easy to say what I know up here versus when you present this on a piece of paper, even if it's just a piece of paper and you ain't learned nothing in school, nobody can snatch that from you. And so there's different expectation. But I'm going to jump in because I heard something, and I got to jump in.
That's it. She's catching you out in the car.
It was walking in now. Is that I think one of the things that I've dealt with in the work environment is people overselling themselves.
There you go.
And so they come in saying what they can do, and they really can't do it.
That's right.
I also think that comes from this idea of, especially for us as Black people, is that we know historically when we go into a work environment, we know, and specifically research talks about this, how white men will have 6 out of the 10 qualifications and still apply, whereas specifically women or Black people will have 10 out of 10 and won't apply. And so we've switched that narrative, or we're trying to switch that narrative, but there are people who will only have 3 out of 10 qualifications, and they come in and talk a good game, but they really don't have the qualifications. And so they oversell. That has happened to me with 3 different employees that I hired in the work environment. One I hired as a data analysis. Someone that was going to do data analysis for me and my research person. Now, if you my research person, you should not be giving me a graph.
Right.
And we all know that a pie chart equals 100%. Wouldn't we agree? A pie chart equals 100%. The pie chart shouldn't equals 160%.
Ooh.
And you're supposed to be my expert. And then when I challenge you on it, I'm the one that's wrong. And not only that, why is 60% shaded smaller than 20%? Ooh. Little things like, and you're the, and that's what I mean by overselling, is that you're so excited about a job that you say that you can do this,
or
but
you just need one so bad.
Or you just need
that
one.
You gonna lie and say whatever you gotta say
to get in it, but the qualifications aren't there, and I think that's also a disconnect that happens within the work environment. And then you have those people like Zeke who have the qualifications, but they haven't built it up where they like, I'm going in, I know I can do it, I know how to do it, whatever. And not saying that that's you, Zeke, but I know that you got qualifications. So I ain't want to put you in the non-qualification category.
Well, I think that the experience that you gain is that's where it is. I think having the confidence to come in there is one thing, to get the job, being able to pull through it and work hard at it. Because I take the person again without the experience, but I know, damn, I left work and they still here. Or they calling me up over the weekend because they still working on stuff, or they're coming up with new ideas and ways. I take that. I call those self-starters. If I find a good self-starter that can go in and do that, I don't mind doing that because I'm a workaholic. Zeke could tell you, like, this brother worked 24/7. I really do. Lateef came over my house the other day, just out the blue, walked on the patio. I'm out there editing film. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, hey, look, he's like, this dude out here editing film. It's like 7:00 on a Sunday, but I do that because that's what I like to do. So finding somebody, that's the other part. Once you find something you really like to do, I think you put the effort in and getting it done. So, I want to give you big ups of going out there, doing what you're going to do to fight for our country, man. We want you to be safe. I think your father be very proud at the fact that you did that. This is something your father did as well, following in his footsteps to move him in that direction. You did great work for us yesterday. We finished our last project that we did at the office, and he finished out a few things. So big ups, brother. We're going to miss you around here because just when my stuff started to pop, I got to start all over again, people. That's how it's been in business all my life. It's like I get going and then I have to take 2 steps back. But that's how it always is. What'd you say, Lateef?
He said, all my life.
All my life. I got to fight, man. It just never stops, man. So, hey, if you're a content creator out there, and you got some skills, because you heard all this stuff we say. Don't come with me if you ain't got no skills.
And don't oversell yourself. Come with humility that you still need to grow and learn.
Yes.
And then that way people are more accepting to the fact that there is room for growth compared to when you come in and you say, you know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I need you to know A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you know only A and B, then we can work on C, D, E, F, G.
And don't expect CFG Z money when you ain't even got your basic ABCs together. So if you're coming in there, just come in there and deal with what you got, and we'll work it out. We need to help. City needs to help. People hate losing good talent. Cleveland, we losing another one. There we go again. We always losing our good talent, walk up out of here and go do other things. So we got to do better at working on that, especially with all these young leaders and people we got in positions here. We have to be able, my daughter the same way, trying to find employment, trying to find a decent group of folks to deal with and hang with, and everything it takes here in Cleveland, man. We as a community, as a people, need to start working on trying to do better for that. And anything I can. That's why I do the podcast, the radio. My little piece is trying to spread as much information I can, try to bring on people we know that hopefully somebody's listening to this stuff, and it will help them out. So when we're going to take a really quick little break here, and when we get back, we're going to put Dr. Burton on the hot seat. She says she got something she want to talk about today, and we're going to talk about it as soon as we get back.
What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. It's time to turn up the strategic moves. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show. What's on your mind Tuesdays? Call in, comment, and connect on WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media.
Support for WOVU comes from East End Neighborhood House, serving Cleveland families for over a century. This summer, East End is expanding with a new childcare location.
It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show.
The senior
What's on
department
your mind
is open Monday,
Tuesdays?
Tuesday,
Call in,
Wednesday,
comment, and connect on
with activities like
WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go.
Foster grandparent program to mentor and tutor children. Visit EENH.org.
What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show. For What's on Your Mind Tuesdays, call in, comment, and connect on
Support for WOVU comes from Village of Healing, a wonderful nonprofit health center led by Black women with locations in Euclid and Shaker Heights. Village of Healing offers services in gynecology, obstetrics, mental health, pediatrics, and primary care. The organization focuses on serving communities in Greater Cleveland. More information about them is available on the web at
What's on Your Mind Tuesdays?
villageofhealingcle.com.
Call in, comment, and connect on WOVU 95 FM,
Solution-based radio here for the
and hit
land.
us up on social media. Let's go.
WOVU 95.9 FM. I'm Liz from Metro Health, and stay tuned.
What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the
Support
conversation.
for WOVU comes from the Make Them Know Your Name Foundation, presenting the 4th annual Pop-Up in the Park, Sunday, August 31st from 3 to 10 p.m. at Mall C, Drawbridge Plaza. The event features CPR and AED demonstrations, free health screenings, fitness activities led by Philly Whedon, DJs, food trucks, local vendors, community giveaways, fireworks, and a performance by Drew Hill. Event information and ticket details are available at popupitp.com. I'm Black Unicorn, and you're listening to WOVU 95.9.
Cleveland, this is your show, your topics and your voice. Join me, Kenn Dowell, for What's on Your Mind Tuesday on 95.9 FM WOVU. Call in a comment. What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show. What's on Your Mind Tuesdays? Call in, comment, and connect on WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go.
Today's show is Black assimilating to whiteness to thrive in America. And we're going to talk with Dr. Burton a little bit about this topic today and get something. I want to do another quick thing. We're just talking about assimilating. We was just talking about, did a podcast. If y'all haven't checked it out, y'all need to check it out. I did an exclusive with Mayor Khalil Seren up in Cleveland Heights. He's going through a whole bunch of drama up there. They're trying to recall this brother, and they're doing that. And he has some issues with council himself, getting through some of the battles and stuff there in Cleveland Heights. It's a a lot of finger pointing back and forth from city council to the mayor's office. And as a result of that, the community has called for recalls, and that's going to happen in September. Mayor wanted to sit down and talk about his side of the story. And he did. So if you get a chance, check out our podcast. Look at Mayor Seren. It's Thursday. We're going to drop the full episode. And we're dropping little snippets of it throughout the week, little clips that you can catch on to get bits and pieces of it. Check it out. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell podcast on YouTube and on all the other social media networks. So today we want to talk a little bit about this conversation that might make a few of us uncomfortable. We're going to talk about how Black folks sometimes assimilate to whiteness in certain areas. And it don't have to just necessarily be whiteness. It could be to any area other than assimilating to who we are as a people. We move out of our communities. We move into different neighborhoods. We move, and it seems like when we get in there, we assimilate to the culture and the things that are going on, and then opposed to growing right on in to keeping up with the whole thing of our own true Blackness. And when I say that is, that's when stuff comes around as it relates to DEI and other programs that take place that get cut out, then everybody's starting to scream. But prior to there were a lot of things that lead up that we have some people who start to assimilate. And when they start to assimilate, those things hurt us. So I got Dr. Burton here, who is our resident expert on all things. She's my resident expert on all things.
I don't know about that.
All things Dr. Burton.
Right, all things Dr. Burton.
That's it. All things. You know, that's what your show should have been. All things
Dr.
Burton.
Dr. Burtonisms.
Dr. Burtonism. So what you feel? What you say about this assimilation thing? What's your theory on that?
So, it's interesting, and you'd appreciate this. I was looking to a clip, and I can't remember who she was interviewing with, but Candace Owens. And one of the things that came up was this idea of patriarchy.
Oh, and patriarchy versus matriarchy.
Did you see that clip?
Princess, the queen maker, Princella.
Yes. And told Candace Owens how you contribute, even though you're fighting against this idea of patriarchy by what you're suggesting, the behaviors that you have contribute to patriarchy. And that's the same thing that happens when we talk about Blackness and whiteness, is that many of us as Black folks, we assimilate to whiteness and we contribute to the racism that exists within our society. Now, racism in the aspect of not racism in terms of power dynamics, but racism in terms of ideologies that we practice that are racist behaviors. And so this has been something that has been on me because I've been listening to us Black people in different spaces and hearing some of the comments that we make about each other, that when it's too Black, then it's like, what are they doing? Why are they doing that? And I'll give a great example is when we talk about hair for Black women. Is I remember when I first went natural, and got rid of the creamy crack, the relaxer. The first thing people said to me is, why is your hair nappy? Now, whose context describes my hair being nappy? Because if it's my people, we all got the same hair texture. So we're not going to run around and talk about your hair nappy. We had to get that from somewhere and somebody, which it comes from whiteness. And so in that whiteness of identifying what we should or should not be, many of us have picked up those same ideologies that we place on the community. Research talks about women and how women are just as hard on other women based on the patriarchy system of white males.
If not harder.
And if not harder. And so these are the things that when we talk about assimilation, is that as Black people, we have assimilated to this idea of whiteness being great, that we are so busy trying to be like them that we putting down each other.
Wow. And there's a lot of that goes on. And you know what? And I'm going to tell you what we started calling it. We started calling it hating. Oh, they just hating.
Yeah.
But that's basically what it was. I mean, a lot of it is when you use that statement and you say somebody's hating on you, it's usually because they are really assimilating to some bull crap somebody else said or some other theory or something. It ain't based off of that. It really is. And that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's one of the things. So I I'm working on my new book, and that is due in October. Yeah, it's due in October with the hopes of it being out in 2026. I did get a release date for my other book that's coming out May 5th, 2026. Oh. But we'll talk about that one another day. Okay. But in this one, thank you. Real quick. But one of the things that I'm engaging in this book, because I'm talking about student success in historically Black spaces. And what does that look like when we look at the benefits of separatism as it relates to the Black Church, Divine Nine, and HBCUs? But really engaging in this idea of countering assimilation. And I'm not going to go too deep because it's a lot built around philosophical thought. But what has happened in society is that we had this intention of integration.
Right.
And we thought integration would be the be all to end all. But when we look at the true definition of social integration, it's true equality, access for everybody. That is not what we have. What we have is assimilation. Is the expectation is that if you don't assimilate to whiteness, then you cannot achieve, you cannot advance. And as Black folks, that's not who we are. And we shouldn't be made to be like another culture in order for us to advance or to advance within society and everything. And so that's one of the things that I've just really been paying attention to. And especially, I said this a minute ago, the comments that we make. It's amazing some of the comments that I hear that we say about each other based on whiteness. And as I said, one of the biggest things is hair, but I'll give you another example. Somebody just shared with me that a statement was made. They got a promotion. And so they, the Black, I just did the whole smack in the mic. Oops. I know. That just slipped out. But they got a promotion. And in this promotion, they are the only Black in upper level management.
Okay.
Well, they said to another Black person who is well qualified to probably be higher than them, they said, I'm not going to be able to promote you because we can only have so many Black people at the top.
Wow.
Now, as a Black person, how do you even fix your lips to make a statement like that? When you are hindering another Black person who is qualified based on the expectation of white people that surrounds you.
That's fully assimilated.
Oh yeah, they gone.
Yeah, they drank the Kool-Aid. They drank the Kool-Aid.
That's fully
no saving that person.
No, and when I found out that they had actually gotten a position, I knew the direction that it was heading.
You know what? That's a classic case of what they say, the person at the door, the gatekeeper. I think that's truly what a gatekeeper is, right? I mean, because she's like standing right there telling you that you can't go past me because I'm it.
It's the overseer. It's the idea of when Black people on the plantation was telling and watching on others because they were following what Master said in terms of this is the way the plantation should be run. If this Black person get out of control, if this place do that, and then the whole idea is I'm the overseer. I'm great because I'm the Black man. It's the overseer. So can't nobody else be on this level with me.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. I'm going to talk about this because do you believe that Black folks in that position, like her and others, him or her, because we ain't gonna say
they.
They, okay. Once you in that position,
can we say Oreos?
We'll
call them Oreos. Yeah, we call them a whole lot of stuff.
Let's just say Toms.
They were called.
They were Toms.
I'm sorry. Let's go. Keep going.
Oreos.
We get close to our podcasting here. We're getting close to podcasting here, y'all. So we better call them they before I slip up.
And the reason that I say they is because I don't want to. I don't want to identify
exactly
my people that I'm talking.
Exactly. I ain't gonna let you. We ain't gonna single out nobody. So we'll say they. Okay. Do you think that they, and that could be anybody in that position? We're gonna say that person in that position, being Black. I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Doctor. I don't think nobody gives them that order to do that.
No.
I think they just do.
Yeah.
I don't. So when we saying this assimilation to whiteness and whatnot, it's not. I don't think the white man or the white woman is telling them, you better not let no more black folks through the door. I think they just do that.
They do, but what we have to understand is this, because this is what we have considered to be normal. And so when we see the ideologies of whiteness and white people and what they perpetuate in these environments, from the theys, they consider that to be normal, and they consider that to be normal behavior. And so they pick up their behaviors, they pick up their ideologies, and they practice the same thing. It's not that anyone is telling them to do it, but that's the whole concept of assimilation.
Right. They don't have to tell them.
They don't have to tell them.
They just
that's
all
what
around
they already
and assimilated
right.
so heavy and deeply that their beliefs, they start to literally think the way that they think. The other days think.
Right.
We got
a lot of days.
There's a lot of days. There's a lot of days in this conversation. Yeah,
we're going to have day one and day two.
Yeah. So what is code switching all about?
So, I used to teach a session on code switching and talking about code switching versus assimilation.
Okay.
Code switching, and this is the Dr. Burtonism. I tell people this is Dr. Burtonism, but code switching comes from social linguistics.
A Dr. Burtonism sound effect. That's what we gotta have. That's what we gotta get going. We gotta work on that.
So code switching began, when we think about it, from W.E.B. Du Bois' double consciousness. And so in double consciousness, he's talking about, how do I fit in as being a Negro and an American when these two worlds are warring against each other?
Okay.
And so W.E. Du Bois was arguing, how do these two come together when the Negro is hated this way, but you expect for the Negro to be an American? And so social linguistics began building on this idea of code switching through language and what languages we use. So many people talk about code switching from a linguistic place of language. For me, code switching is the ability to play the game. Whereas assimilation, you lose your self-identity. And so in assimilation, you've lost who you truly are or who you should truly be based on somebody else's definition versus code switching. Like, for example, I'm very protective of the Black culture.
Okay.
And so there are certain things that you're not going to get me to do in another environment. Just like earlier when I smacked my lips. I'm not going to smack my lips probably around white people.
Right.
Because I'm number one, I don't want you to think you can do it.
Right.
Because if you smack your lips, I might smack you. So there's this protectiveness. But I also know that there are some levels of code switching that has to happen, specifically linguistically. And I was just listening to a podcast earlier, or a TikTok that was saying just language we use as Black people. Like they were talking about how such and such went and had an affair with somebody, and then they had a whole baby. And that's something we say. We'd be like, man, she done went and had a whole baby. Like the baby be a half a baby.
Right.
But that's cultural. I'm not going to share that with you because I don't want you thinking you can use whole baby.
Right.
And that's what I mean by being protective and versus assimilation. Because assimilation means that I'm going to go to the white people, and no matter where I am, I may talk one way this way, but I'm going to go there and I'm going to sell y'all out in this room too.
That's a lot of that.
And it's a lot of that.
That's a lot of that. What about people who use the N-word? Is that code switching or is that assimilating?
Well, I guess it depends on the context that you talk about using the N-word.
Well, it's like I said, it's just like you say, linguistically, how people use different words and they come at stuff. And there's some words that you can't say and some words you can't. There's some people who feel that, we can say that, but you can't say that. And I'm getting to that. I guess some words should just be totally off limits, period. That's what I guess, right?
So for me, again, you're not going to get me to use a word in mixed company because I'm not giving you permission to ever think you can use it.
Right.
I also am one of them people. See?
See?
I don't care about the King's English right now.
But you're on this show. We
don't care. But I'm also one of those people who had been called the N-word as a young person.
Right.
And so being called that, it brought a visceral reaction where I literally threw a desk at someone in 7th grade.
Wow, a whole desk.
By the grace of God, I have come very far with my temper.
Yes,
I just shared this with somebody else just yesterday. I mean, it's only by the grace of God that I have come as far as I have with a temper.
Wow.
Because I had a really bad temper.
You give me hope.
Yes, there is. There is, Uni. It really is. Because if I share some of the stories, you'd be like, and that's why I say it's only by the grace of God that I have actually come as far as I have, specifically with my temper. But in that, having had that experience, that's a word that I veer from. I veer from. And I know within the community, it's a debate all the time because we have reclaimed it. We have reclaimed it to turn it into a positive thing where it's about endearment between me and my brother or me and my sister or anything like that. But I also feel that it gives permission for others to use it.
Yeah, I think no, hands down, it gives permission. You can't, I don't think we can label words to say you can use and you can't. I think that's just ridiculous. So with that being ridiculous, we should not just say it. Now, do I use it? Of course. All right, so let's go. Let's move on. Do we believe assimilation, this is for everybody in the house, is assimilation a form of survival or betrayal?
It's betrayal.
Oh.
As I explained it, for me, code switching is survival.
Okay.
Assimilation is betrayal.
I got you. I got you. Yeah.
I mean, because once you begin to assimilate, that means that you are actually in this space of believing that Black people can change based on what is the narrative. And I tell you who talks about that. And I think I talked about this on another show. It's Ibram Kendi in his book, Stamped from the Beginning. He talks about these concepts. And so it talks about the curse theory and climate theory. And in curse theory, it's the idea that Black people are cursed based on their color. So using the biblical story of Ham in terms of how Black people were banned to the pits of Egypt. And so he uses this whole story or this whole ideology of Black people being cursed. And if you believe in the curse theory, then you support segregation. Whereas if you believe in climate theory is the idea that because you are closer to the equator or away from the equator, your skin has become dark based on the sun. And so in that, it demonstrates this idea of change and that you have this ability to change. Well, in this, it's the idea of assimilation. Okay. And so you can change based on facets, based on context, based on whatever, because all we need to do, here you go. All we need to do is educate you more. All we need to do is provide you with this opportunity. All we need to do is be the white savior. And if we're the white savior, then we can lift you up and you can be better. That's the idea behind assimilation that we fall into, is that if I do this, I'll be so much closer to whiteness that I can be better.
How much religion play into that?
Woo! Woo! So religion plays a lot. And I'll give you another example.
White Jesus.
Which is so right, white Jesus, who does not exist. And look, here we go. So me being the minister in the house.
Uni, why you put your microphone away?
Come on back, Uni. So here we go with religion. Religion is one of the biggest places that has taught us assimilation and biases. Is that when we think about religion was used to justify slavery. Okay. Religion was used to justify hate. If you take religion out of the and let me say this, religion is a large umbrella. Correct. It's not just one facet when we use the term religion. But when we talk about this, Christianity was used to justify hate. It was used to justify slavery. A great book by Robert Jones that talks about white too long, that deals in these ideas of how Christianity shaped hate in order to subjugate Black people. And so with Christianity, yes, because there's this level of assimilation that had to happen in order, here we go, for you to get freedom, in order for you to be accepted, in order for you to be this, that, the other. I'll give you another example is how many folks that I've heard have voted for Trump based on religion.
Right.
And it's been so many things just bother me throughout the week. I had to pray and get my mind together. But how do we justify voting for someone based on religion who spews hate, who spews things against a marginalized community, who puts down those who are oppressed, who's hurting the widow, who's disadvantaging the children? And this is all biblical of what we should not do.
That's
but
correct.
Yet we're going to support because he says I'm against abortion. Yet we're going to support because he says I'm against the LGBTQ, where he could care less about that because he hasn't done any type of policies to affect that. But what he has done policies for, I shouldn't say he hasn't done any because he has, but what he has is continue to oppress the marginalized.
That's correct.
And if we truly use Christianity in the light that it was, and that's why I always tell people, I identify as a follower of Jesus Christ, not someone who follows Christianity shaped in white supremacy. And so there are two different things, because if we look Old Testament, and I'm not going to preach because I can take this for a whole nother 20 minutes, but if we look Old Testament and we think about this and we think about the garden, it's just, now let me say this. I got to say this. This is no slight to our ancestors. And this is no slight to the people who became before us, because when you have language barriers and you can't read and you don't understand and no one is allowing you to read and understand, then you can't learn what's to be learned. You're only going on oral tradition compared to now, where we have access and the information available, that we should no longer be thinking that Jesus is white with blonde hair and blue eyes. Because if you look, and I always use the example of Moses. Moses hid amongst the Egyptians. Moses couldn't have been white hiding amongst the Egyptians.
Right.
And it don't fit. They don't go together. And so there are certain things. Adam and Eve couldn't be in the garden with heat unless they had melanin and pigment in their skin. So these are things that we don't think about that are reality for when we're talking about Christianity. And that's why we have to be really careful of how we teach things. But going back to this assimilation.
The whole religious thing then has to be assimilation. If you think about it, the whole thing, even when they came over to even teach it to you, it was about us having people to assimilate to a belief.
But what I don't want to do is I don't want to put religion in a classification of being a whole thing of assimilation. And let me say why, because religion existed before they came over here.
So we don't know what it was.
We know.
Well, I don't know what it was.
There's historical evidence of Christianity existing before it came to the Americas.
Okay.
So we got to understand that. So we can't put it. We can put American Christianity was shaped in the idea of assimilation.
I like that.
Before.
I like
so
that. We almost could do a whole show on that.
Yeah, and that's why I talked about. I think I talked about this before. Is the language that we use and being careful of what language we use when we explain and describe things.
We got a couple of people checking in on social media. Ronald Murphy, he's saying all facts. Ronald Murphy again gave us a link to Conscious Music. But then we also have Eugene Miller checking in saying we've been assimilated since 1619 as Black folks in America. From 1619 to today, we've been assimilating from every aspect because we don't know our past. Yes, some of us do, but a majority of us do not.
And let's explain what 1619 is. 1619 is when those who came over, language, those who were forced.
Okay. All right.
Those who were forced, Africans. Was it 19 or 20? 19 Africans who were forced into slavery in Jamestown, Virginia. And I used to tell my students, how many of you all heard of 1620 in the Mayflower? And they'd all be like, yeah, I heard of the Mayflower. But nobody heard of 1619 in the White Lion, which was the cargo ship that brought 19 Africans that were forced into slavery. And so 1619 is what theoretically defines as the beginning of chattel slavery within the Americas?
Chattel slavery. I just did a whole show, and if y'all out there listening, here's a plug. You can go to our podcast. We just did a whole thing on reparations
with Aisha.
With Aisha, and she talked about chattel slavery here in the Americas and how that was the worst form of slavery ever. And the history of that. So if you want to really check that out, you should check it out, and you learn a lot from her.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and that's, again, language. That's why when you talk about slavery in the Americas, it's important to describe it as chattel slavery, because chattel slavery is indicative of being property.
That's correct.
And so many people say, yeah, slavery existed beforehand. Yeah, it did, but it was not chattel slavery.
That's what she
said. And
said.
so it's important to understand what type of slavery existed in America versus other places.
Chattel was the worst.
As well as the idea that you were born into slavery. So in other places, you were not born into slavery based on the heredity or the hereditary, that's not the right word, of your mother. My language is not working.
You the doctor in the house.
You're the hereditary of your mother. And so those are things that, going back to what the person who Miller, Eugene Miller, what Eugene Miller stated of many of us don't know our history. And so we do assimilate to whiteness because we have not learned what it means to be Black.
Let's say it this way. Could rejecting assimilation become our greatest strength? Are there examples today where embracing Black authenticity actually creates more power and success?
Look at us in this room. I think we're an example of, and I think often we put stuff in such a large context that we don't see the people who are doing the work on the ground. This is a great example of people who don't succumb to assimilation.
You know what? I guess you're right.
Yeah.
I just want to be a podcast. Am I assimilated? Want to be a podcaster?
Not unless you start talking about the white people this, and we're gonna have to start coming in with the expectations. My hair gonna have to be straight, and I'm gonna have to do this. No. When you start doing that, then I'm gonna have to leave you on your own.
And what's strange about that is that I didn't know what kind of person I was gonna be when I got into it. So meeting people like yourself and just doing that, you find yourself assimilating to what you probably really felt anyway. And I'm a little more conscious in some of the stuff lately than I may have been in the past because of profession and other stuff. So you're right. And it is a different type of way you assimilate into what you're doing.
And I think there's also growth and room for learning, or room for learning and growing. If you've been raised in a certain environment, sometimes you have to learn and grow so that you are not still picking up those things that you learn in that environment, and more specifically, those things that are shaped in whiteness. And so there's room for grace for individuals, but it's those folks who just are on this side, as we said earlier, the Uncle Toms have drank the Kool-Aid, the sellouts who aren't willing to grow. Because I'll give you a great example, because I know we got to wrap up, is what I think about people generationally.
Okay.
And so if we talk about seniors and you start having conversations, well, they grew up in a time where there were so many things that they had to do for their own safety. But you have many of them who have now, because of learning, completely shifted their mindset in terms of what they accept and what they don't when it comes to whiteness.
Let me ask you this question, because it's coming. How can you identify, or how you write that thin line of assimilating versus doing what you have to do, or what's the word you use?
Code switching.
And not be called a sellout, because most people who try to get in there, most people are like, oh, you selling out, when really you trying to code switch to do what you got to do, but not quite assimilating into it.
So it is a thin line, depending on who you are.
Right.
So what I always say is that when you're not assimilating, you're walking into the space as just who you are. And people are going to accept you for who you are versus what somebody has identified you to be.
Okay.
And that comes from growth. That comes from growth. That also comes from knowing yourself and being comfortable in who you are. The assimilator is the person that walks, the code switcher is the person that gets into the room, but then protects and takes up for the Black community. The assimilator is a person who gets into the room and still puts down the Black community.
Got you. Doctor, we coming to the close of our program really quick here. You got any closing remarks? We got like 30 seconds or so.
Let's be careful, as I always say, of the language that we use in mixed companies, and then start taking a look at ourselves and see how are we contributing to the problem. You know, often we blame everybody else for the problems that are around us, especially within the Black community. Let's think, how are we contributing? What am I doing to perpetuate and continue some of the things that impact us as a community?
Am I assimilating or am I just code switching?
LP Cleveland, Burton Bell Car Station.
What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show. For What's on Your Mind Tuesdays, call in, comment, and connect on WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org,